Hello everyone, I've got a sneak peek again for you guys of the new March products from MFT, and as always there'll be more info on my blog. But I cut down a piece of white cardstock and I'm using these new sticky backed sheets that MFT is carrying, and if I'd been thinking I would have just lined up the edge of the cardstock with the very edge of the sheet. I don't know why I left a border around it. I wasn't, yeah. So got that pressed onto there really well and then trimmed off the excess adhesive. And then I'm going to be lining up the new Wildflowers Centerpieces Die-namics. And this is where these little sticky back sheets come in really handy because this die is so intricate. So I got it lined up on my Big Shot, and then I'm using the metal shim, which again I got through MFT. Other places sell them as well. I highly recommend them if you're using more intricate dies, ones with a lot of small cuts. The metal shim makes a huge difference so that you get a nice clean cut. So did all that, ran it through, and rather than taking off the negative space, I just left it in place because I wanted to color all these flowers. Now, this die does come with a second little piece that die cuts all the little flowers themselves, so you can do them in different colors of cardstock. It's super simple and quick because you just run it through and then you can just adhere those over top. But I wanted to give everything a more colored look. So I used my Copic markers, and it's just easier to leave the negative spot in place when you're doing like all these fine little stems and everything. So you can do it one of two ways. You can kind of color it up and down like I did, or you can just like scribble right across, whatever works for you. And it doesn't have to be Copics, any markers are going to work. But I was using my Copics, and I used just 3 different shades of green, just so I've got a nice little gradient effect on them. Nothing super fancy, because again, since they're such delicate little pieces, you're not going to notice any real blending. And right now, of course, it looks absolutely messy, but that's the beauty of it. Once we pop out the negative space, it's going to look kind of cool. So for the flowers, rather than using the second die and just die cutting it from cardstock, I wanted to color those in as well and just give them kind of a mottled sort of look. Use a couple different markers on the flowers. So I did 3 different shades. I did kind of a purpley pink, a pink, and then a light purple, and just kind of dabbed on the lighter color, added a bit of a darker color, and then dabbed on the lighter color again to quickly blend it. No rhyme or reason. I didn't choose colors necessarily close to each other on the spectrum. I just grabbed ones that look nice to me. So you can kind of get away with it with such small little areas like this. It doesn't have to be super fancy and blended. So got all the color dabbed on, and then it was just a matter of peeling off the backing to the sticky part on the back there. So I just peeled that off. And then it just took a little bit of kind of flipping it back and forth a little bit to get the negative space out of there. And then I've got a piece of snow cone cardstock that I just trimmed down, and I trimmed it just slightly bigger than the piece of white cardstock, so there'd be a little bit of a border around it. So I'm going to get the die lined up onto there, and then I grabbed that yellow backing from the sticky sheet and just pressed that onto there so I could easily, quickly press down everything so that the adhesive sticks to the cardstock. So once I've got that, I'm going to quickly fix any little spots that I missed with the marker, and I use my colorless blender to kind of press out any of the color that went onto the frame because I wanted the border around it to stay white. And then I chose the sentiment, which is the Happy Easter stamps from the Easter Bunny set that I showed in my last little Easter video. So I lined them up on my craft sheet and then picked them up with my little Fiskars stamp press there, and then made sure that fit within the frame, which it did. So then I inked it up with MFT's Sweet Tooth pigment ink. I had thought about embossing it, but it was going to be a little bit difficult with the die cut and the adhesive and everything else. If I had thought ahead of time and used my embossing buddy to get the powder everywhere, I probably could have. But I decided I kind of liked it as just a softer look in the background rather than like embossed and like sticking out. So left it as is, and then I grabbed this is the new wood plank background set. This is also part of the March release, and inked it up with natural ink, and I used a piece of craft cardstock. This is something I was doing a while ago, is I really love stamping the natural ink on craft because the natural ink is a bit lighter. So as it dries, it gets a little bit lighter, a little more subtle than just stamping craft ink on craft cardstock. So I did that twice onto 2 pieces of craft cardstock. And usually, yeah, it works better to have a little bit of scratch paper so you don't get ink all over your fingers, but I was kind of in a hurry when I was making this. So yeah, just flying by the seat of my pants, but got both pieces stamped, and then I took the largest die from the new Blueprints 13 Die-namics and die cut the pieces, so then you've got this perfectly trimmed piece with the stitched border around it, which I love. I love all these dies with the stitching and the piercing and everything just built in. So all you have to do is run it through your die cut machine and you're good to go. So I matted the main image with a little piece of raspberry cardstock, just a little bit, just to bring out that pink that I used. And I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi here because the pigment ink that I stamped Happy Easter in is not completely dry yet. So if I'd use my ATG by pressing it, flipping it over and pressing it down, I'd have ink everywhere. So like I said, I was in a hurry, so I kind of wanted to get this all put together. So that's where I chose to use the Tombow Mono Multi, because it's easier to add adhesive without smearing the sentiment that I stamped. So I got that adhered to my white card base, and then that second piece I had stamped and die cut, I adhered to the inside and just left it like that. I thought that would kind of look cool when you write to the recipient, is you just write over the wood plank background, so really fun. And then of course, as a final little touch, I added some diamond stickles to the flowers just for a little bit of bling. And that's all there was to it for today. So as always, there will be a link below to my blog post with more info and the supplies used. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!